Recently I made a video about the Nomad hero. They are characterized by the obligation to do good when they come across those in need, but they don't actively seek out evil to fight. Whenever they're not needed, they'd sooner just chill out and roam freely before seeking somebody to help. This is opposed to what I like to call the hunter archetype. Similar to nomads, they will still do good when the opportunity presents itself, even if they have to pause the hunt to do so. However, their main mission is and always will be destroying evil rather than cultivating good. The destruction of evil is, of course, impossible, which means their mission will never be totally complete. This means they're a lot less relaxed than the nomad types, because there is always something to do. When things are quiet and there are no old ladies to help cross the street, there is evil out there somewhere that needs to be punished. Speaking of which, probably the most obvious example of this is the Punisher. Brother, it's in the fucking name. Frank Castle isn't just an arsehole. There's a reason he respects Captain America so much. He values compassion for the innocent, shows remorse when he makes mistakes, and most importantly, prioritizes protecting the innocent over killing a criminal if the two ever become mutually exclusive. But here's the thing. It's very rarely mutually exclusive. Frank Castle is called the Punisher, not the wrist slapper or the saver. He says it himself. There needs to be a guy like him when the law isn't enough. When some people need to get put down and stay down instead of going back onto the streets to do it again. He'll never be the guy to take a load off after a successful mission, and he'll never be the guy who puts down the guns to try and rehabilitate a villain instead. He hunts down criminals, specifically the lowest of the low, and punishes them. That's his shtick. Ergo, the hunter archetype. And it seems like Marvel like their hunter archetypes because they have probably the most iterations from what I can tell. Blade is basically a supernatural version of the Punisher. His mission is to destroy all vampires. But just like Frank, there are times when he's temporarily halted that mission to help the innocent. In some rare cases, that even included vampires. He's a hero for a reason. However, he is still a vampire hunter. He's not out here trying to cure every vampire. His name is Blade, not Blood Test. Then there's Ghost Rider. He's what happens if you made Punisher and Blade have a baby, then gave it a sweet fucking bike. The spirit of vengeance is a cool concept already, but something even more special about Ghost Rider is that he's so unbelievably busted that there are times he has to sit out of conflicts to make it fair. And thematically, that makes sense, because he only exists to avenge the innocent and punish evil. In a conflict where there's either no innocence or no evil, he has no place, like in World War Hulk. This makes him feel like a slightly looser fit for the hunter archetype, because the penance stare is a bit inconsistent. For example, sometimes his focus is solely on avenging innocence, but then he'll pull up on Frank like, "You trying to step on my turf, big dog?" and punish him for causing harm to those who are definitely not innocent. Yeah, trying to keep track of comics is a full-time job, brother. But anyway, what about Big Daddy DC? There's definitely not nearly as many examples. The focus in DC does tend to be more on being a symbol of hope for those in need, especially for the most popular ones. Even Batman literally has a bat symbol to call for help. As much as he talks about being the knight and the reason criminals breathe easier when the sun rises, Batman would sooner help every single one of his rogues gallery before harming them. But Jason, on the other hand, Jason as Red Hood is still kind of young as a character, so he's not quite as fleshed out as most other hunters. Still, as far as DC goes, he is likely the best example. And look no further than his argument with Batman. He says that if Joker had taken Batman from this world, he would have stopped at nothing to hunt him down and send him straight to hell. Now, he may have a personal vendetta with Joker, but I'm pretty sure if any of Gotham's other villains managed to kill Bruce, he'd probably feel the same way. The focus is always going to be on helping and saving people, but if that's all he did, he would just be like any other Robin. Hence why Red Hood is 100% a hunter archetype. Before I give other examples, I want to draw an important distinction. If somebody just punishes evil but doesn't make any effort to do good deeds, I wouldn't place them in the hunter archetype. To be honest, I don't know what I would call them. Anti-hero is too broad, but they're not villains either. For example, John Wick is an assassin. As far as we know, he never kills innocents and he's got a soft spot for dogs. But he's definitely not out to make the world a better place either. It's more like an honor among thieves kind of situation. Let me know if you have a better title for this kind of character. I might make a separate video about them. Anyway, with that out of the way, comics will always be king when it comes to superheroes, but other forms of media give us hunters in droves too. For example, Doomslayer. There is a metric fuckton of lore to Doomslayer which I will probably never read into because I can't read. But I know that Doom guy is good guy. Unless you're a demon, then he is very bad guy. The worst guy, actually. You see, Doomslayer is a bit different because out of all of the hunters on the list, he has the best chance of succeeding and wiping out evil because he's fucking OP. And if he ever succeeded, I guess he would just revert back to very angrily helping you get your cat out of the tree. But until then, his very existence is to destroy all demonic and evil forces. He still has morals and does what he does for the good of mankind. But we barely see him interact with humans at all. As far as we can see in-game, on the surface level at least, it's very clear they are painting him to be an enemy to the demons rather than a savior to the people. And that is as hunter as it gets. I think of all of the examples I've given today, Punisher is probably the most accurate in describing the hunter archetype. It's just in everything that is the Punisher. His name, his brand, his mission, it all says I am out to hunt. But there's also a very, very good example in the world of television with Dexter. Initially, it's easy to dismiss Dexter as an anti-hero in a similar vein to John Wick. I mean, he's a murderer. Sure, he only kills bad people, but he does it to satisfy himself first and foremost. And you'd be right. If he didn't also actively go out of his way and make his life harder to uphold morals and do the right thing. If his priority was simply scratching that itch with a side hustle of doing some good, fine, I'd give you that. But when you make decisions that actively hinder said scratching, because it's just the right thing to do, yeah, you're stepping into hero territory, my guy. I won't go into details because almost every single good deed Dexter does is a massive spoiler, but just trust me on this one. Dexter's more than just a killer with a conscience. By now, I'd like to think I've given a wide array of examples and explained my concept of the hunter-hero archetype in great enough detail that you understand the difference between them and other hero types. If so, I challenge you to leave one below in the comments who I haven't mentioned today, who fits that description. Shameless engagement farms out of the way. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, let me know, because I want to make more of this kind of content. I'm still experimenting with different video essay series to do, and I've got a Paragon video in the works, so I'm sure I can fork out a few villain archetypes as well. That is, if you want them. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon, brother.